And hello, and welcome to Season 2 of Super Pros Bros. I'm Player 2, Eli, and with me, as always, is...
Player one, Ike. And Ted Roosevelt, did you know that this pod is on YouTube, SoundCloud, and Spotify?
I did not, bro, Mato. There's the same places people could
Like,
comment
share?
and subscribe.
I think it is.
How about that?
Just like I think you got back into the United States less than 24 hours ago.
You would be correct.
How's that been? What's that been about?
There's been a jet lag ass whooping. That's what that's been like. So I have spent the last week and change, I guess a total of 9 days between travel and stay. Mostly in Italy. We went out to go see mutual friend Coco's, go hang out at his wedding, and hang out around Lake Como in Italy, northern Italy. It's fucking gorgeous. Hot as balls, but whatever. Um,
Was
and
it hot because they didn't have air conditioning, or was it just hot because it was hot?
yes.
Okay, that's kind of what I figured. For those of
Yes.
you that don't know, a lot of Europeans are not like set up in American circumstances, so they are having to rapidly adjust to global warming and such increases in temperature because there's lots of them that don't have air conditioning. So the idea of like temperature outside of the norm that's happened the last like 5-10 years has just been like, what is this madness?
Yeah, it's a bit of a beating.
It's kind of hilarious. They don't they don't get it yet. All these Texans are just giggling at them. It's funny.
Yeah, same Texans that are melting because their governor's an idiot.
Yep.
Anyways, but no, it was absolutely gorgeous. It wasn't too big a headache going there. Like travel was pretty easy. Um,
Once you got her passport.
Once we got the fucking passport, and that saga ended 2 days before we were supposed to leave, so that was a little bit down to the fucking wire, but got it. Went, hung out. Um, did my best stumbling through sounding Italian, which occasionally I could order food, and people were like, "Oh, sure," and occasionally they'd look at me funny. And I'm like, "Fuck." Um,
You learn. I didn't know you like learned some Italian before going over.
no, I fucking learned zero Italian before going over, but I'm pretty good at just reading languages and sounding
Oh,
coherent.
okay.
Like I can just read shit. If
Yeah,
you hand me like a page of Spanish, I can read it and
yeah.
sound fairly competent. Do I know what it means? God no. So, so I could do that somewhat with Italian and sound fairly reputable. Was I? Absolutely not. Um, but yeah, I ate a bunch of really good food. Hung out at the lake. We spent a day in Milan. We went to see like the Duomo Cathedral, which is fucking monstrous.
Yeah.
The thing is huge.
How does this? So, for those of you that don't know at home, my brother and I got a chance to go to tour Europe with the family, all of 2000. I think it was the summer of 2005. So that's 18 years ago. So you've been like 12,
I was 11 or 12.
11 or
Yeah,
12. Yeah. How does this compare versus your recollection of
much
them?
better.
Much better. How?
Um, in large part because I'm an adult and I can go do things.
Okay.
And two, I have a better appreciation for a lot of shit.
Hmm.
Like even though there was like some art that it still didn't sit. Like I wasn't absolutely gobsmacked by a lot of art we went and saw because we went to a museum when we were in Milan. But like I still appreciated it more than a fucking 12-year-old did. Like,
Yeah.
that's just the truth. I also just had more patience for a lot of shit, like in dealing with delays and
Yeah.
whatnot. So I think in that regard it was a lot better. It also just being able to go somewhere is nice. Like that is the crap thing about traveling as a kid is you are just completely reliant on someone else. That's like one of the
Oh, yeah.
wonderful things about
Yeah,
being an
having
adult.
agency.
Yeah, you just like I'm gonna go get lunch. Fuck it. Like
Yeah.
um and we didn't bounce around as much.
Yeah. Mm.
And there were just like it was also different because there's a lot of my peers there too. Like there's a lot
Yep.
of people I knew. Like a lot of Colton's family was there, so I spent a fair amount of time hanging out with them and Murphy and shit. Um, so like it was easy to just kind of group up with people and go do random things around town. Like hey, let's go get a lot of gelato. We ate a lot of gelato. There's a lot of
As
gelato.
you should. It's
As
the
we
national
should, as
dish.
we
It's Italy.
did. We went to like the second best gelato place in Italy.
Damn.
It was great. Yeah, it was down in where the fuck was it? It was down in Bellagio. No, was it Bellagio? No,
Stoney Casino.
no. That's just there's a shit ton of town or like small villages around Lake Como.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or was it it may have been Gravadona. I think it was Gravadona was where the dope fucking gelato was. It was really fucking good.
Sick.
Um, yeah, it was great. And then on our way back, we had Artemis and I spent one night just chilling to ourselves in Germany. Um, we stayed at this hotel that was built like a fucking bomb shelter.
Maybe it was.
It would have been a giant bomb shelter. It was huge.
I mean, if you look
Well,
at their history.
I hear you. I'm saying it was still a 12-story building,
Yeah.
but it was like solid concrete walls.
Oh, that's just German engineering.
Okay. Like solid concrete walls. The windows were like a foot thick.
Yeah.
It felt like completely
Dude,
soundproof. I
The
joked.
German, from all I know, talking and knowing Germans in my life, they literally are the Boy Scouts when it comes to engineering. It's like, what can fail? Okay, we're gonna make sure that can't happen. So
Yeah,
if the idea of like anything happens,
I'm pretty sure I could have like pulled the pin on a hand grenade and tossed it in the room, and you wouldn't have heard it outside the room.
Yeah.
Like, it's just outrageous.
and yeah, well, there's two things coming into play here. One, German engineering, gotta be the top, and
Yeah.
also they like wild, kinky, sexy shit. So maybe that's intentional.
I was to say,
Maybe they do. Maybe
that
this is a
also
fuck hotel.
probably it's called a business. It was a business hotel.
Definitely a fuck
So,
hotel. Then.
yeah, I mean,
what
there's
are you doing on business
listen,
trips?
What are you doing after your conference? Yeah, you're getting some. God bless you.
So, but irrit to historical fact moment. After the Berlin Wall came down, and East and West Germany became one again,
Yeah,
what were the two biggest purchased items? Do you think?
I have no idea.
Alcohol and porn, by a lot.
God
They're
bless
like,
him.
"Just get drunk and let's fuck," or beat off, whatever. But it was that by it wasn't even close. It like stores were selling out of smut magazines and liquor like it was fucking like they were going extinct.
Like they were next to a frat house.
Yeah, it was just like whoosh. Because they just one, it's Germany. Two, they've been repressed for 30, 40 years or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah,
Fun fact.
so we got in at effectively 2 in the afternoon. It's like Seattle time.
Mm-hmm.
So made myself stay up, and then this morning my body went, "Hey, it's 4 in the morning. Get up." I was like, "Please no. Can I go
Yeah.
back to bed?" It's like, "Nope." Okay. So
It's getting close. They usually get up like 6:30, something like that, right?
6:37. So
Yeah,
we're
you're
getting
in
there.
you're in you're at the beginning of the ballpark. But you're at the ballpark.
Yeah, so tomorrow will be a little rough, but
yeah, you
yeah,
got this.
yesterday started to become a struggle, but I made myself stay up. I was
Hell
like,
yeah.
no,
Friday,
you're not going to bed at 2 in the afternoon, Eli. Do
yeah,
not.
that's new. There's a move we do not do.
Yeah.
Just like apparently a move I don't do is I don't get to run, apparently. I didn't get to run the last couple weeks. So after initially when Summer League started, I tried to do like couch to 5K kind of thing.
Yeah.
And did I talk about how terrible it went?
No.
Oh my god. It was so like I'm sorry for those of you if this is a repeat and we forgot about it, but I tried to do couch to 5K and the plan is like laid out very like I believed I could do it. Yeah, it was like every other day, small amounts of incremental time, you run for 1 minute, you walk for a minute and a half. You do that for 20 total minutes. So you only run like 8 minutes worth of time. I'm like, cool, I can do that. I got this.
Sure.
No, I fucking couldn't. Day one, I ran for like collectively 3 minutes and then staggered for the other like 30, much to the fucking getting lapped by Korean grandmas on sticks. They're just like, "Bah!" and just like fucking chugga 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 passing the shit out of me because I was going so slow. But it was at the same time humbling. It was invigorating. I was like, you know what? And this is something I'm kind of proud of, is that like years ago I think that would have been a death knell for me, but now it's like kind of inspiration and something to giggle at, and I was like fine with it.
Sure.
And the first week tried, occasionally had some hiccups, but we were gonna like play around it. And the second week, which I believe was last week or the week before, like I had this like week and a half where I was like sickish. Initially, I
Mm.
thought it was COVID. I felt like I had just like constantly chills. Didn't have COVID, but I was well, definitely wasn't feeling up to running or leaving the house.
Yeah.
And then I had like a respiratory infection where I was just like constantly coughing. Not gonna run or be in public like that. So this is like hopefully gonna go run today after we're finished recording this podcast. But like had that just banger of an experience where I tried running, body was like no, and then body was like super no for like a week and a half. So hopefully returning to form as of this week. Uh, what else has been going on? I don't remember. Watched some shows. Did a whole lot of fucking nothing, including writing. Sadly, I have been fucking. More on that later. Somewhere between. At least you have the excuse of traveling. I've been at home, and other than the time that I've been sick, like truly sick, I just like have not been able to get myself to write. I think we talked about that last time, though.
Well, get wrecked, nerd.
Yeah, very much so. There's this thing that I'm gonna try. I might need to go make a purchase, but a friend had this interesting recommendation. He is much more wise and savvy than me, but he says
Mm.
that like one of the ways that he has found the ability to like fix that is to do it in public. So like take a laptop and go sit in a coffee shop because even
That's
though
very person dependent, but yeah.
sure it's something worth trying. I think I've got a laptop,
Sure.
like a little $80 hunk of shit somewhere. See if the charger works. But the idea that like people knowing that people are like just being around people kind of gives you the impetus to do work
Sure.
as opposed to just like you like it puts a small onus on you where like sitting at home
Sure.
only
No,
yourself.
I see the rationale.
Yeah.
Like,
But,
not questioning the rationale. Just
yeah.
very
Hopefully that. Yeah. Anyway, so as you went to Italy for the wedding to Coco, I thought perhaps this week we could talk about relationships in fiction, as one
voila.
lovely one has just started. Hopefully, we can talk about some that have already been.
Nailed it.
Yeah, it was all right.
Could have been better. Alright. So, on our first lumpings, we have four collections. We have the bad, the badly portrayed unhealthy relationships. The good bad, the well portrayed unhealthy relationships. The bad good, the shoddy or kind of
Troublesome,
troublesome
difficult, awkward.
good relationships where it is healthy. It just has some kinks to iron out.
It's
And then
it's a hunk of gold rolled in dog shit. You know,
yeah. And then you have the good relationships, which
just a hunk of gold.
I don't know how much more to elaborate on that. Feels pretty explanatory. We're gonna start at the bottom. Start at the shit end of the shit house.
Start the bad. For those of you that this is a little awkward or confusing, the bad is the Romeo and Juliet award, as I'm typifying it, wherein the category is for those relationships that were misunderstood. Romeo and Juliet arguably is, age gated and has maybe too much nuance, but in deeper analysis by literary people and historians, William Shakespeare meant for Romeo and Juliet to be a cautionary tale of don't let kids make decisions, they're fucking dumb. It wasn't these beautiful, kids, this beautiful relationship.
It was that 16-year-olds are impulsive idiots.
Yeah. They should not be trusted with any life altering decisions, especially poison apparently. So, with that, you want to start it off or shall I?
I will, because we're gonna do the controversial one first. Gina and Harry from Harry Potter. It's not good.
Sound off in the comments, you fucking nerd cuck
Nerds.
bitches. Bah. Alright, there's my.
It- It's just from a light writing standpoint. It's kind of out of nowhere. It doesn't because
A
Ginny
lot out of
isn't a
nowhere.
character.
Yeah.
Like, she's just kind of there. At least Cho had some personality to her. Ginny is as interesting as a fucking doormat.
Yep.
Um, but two, at no point does Harry talk to her. At no point does he try to establish anything. He just rolls up and kisses her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his concern is not how is she gonna take this. It's oh fuck, what does Ron think?
Yeah.
No.
Also, the fact that like there's the power dynamic of he's older, has been in the family, is seen by society as this like god. Just looking back is just really fucking weird. And
Also, he's got way more money than she does.
way more money than she does, and he's her older brother's friend. There's like a lot of big power dynamic problems here that make it like just kind of bad from the get go, and the fact that there's no foundation or really like literally no relationship other than sycophancy to like start from. It's like there's no fucking way this goes good, and if
Yeah,
it does, it like in the face of all logic and reason.
yeah, it's out of left field. It is creepy at best,
It was the
criminal
beginning of the
at
J.K.
worst.
Rowling just random dart throwing.
Yeah, and from a writing perspective, it feels just fucking unsatisfying and unearned.
Oh yeah,
So, boo! It's bad on several counts.
it's bad and you should feel bad.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Zoidberg.
So
Next.
up next we've got Anna and Christian from 50 Shades of Stupid. I'm sorry, 50 Shades of Grey.
I'm sorry, 50 Shades of Stupid.
Yes. No, I got it right the first time. So Anna and Christian's relationship starts off technically good. The the issue with the relationship, the issue with the book, and the issue with the series is that the writer clearly looked at the back of a BDSM like
Erotic
intro
novel?
something and then never did any other research because it just comes off from the hip and the hip is firing backwards. The relationship with Otto and Christian is by too many people portrayed as positive. However, and this
It's
a lot of
not.
this a lot of this is going into BDSM stuff and just general stuff is that he breaks the trust multiple times, doesn't listen to the safe word multiple times, and that's enough.
He pressures her to be financially dependent on him.
Yeah, not good.
Yikes on trikes.
Yeah, that
Um,
one's outside of BDSM. That one's just bad.
Yeah, that's bordering in some fucking ASPD shenanigans.
Sorry, what?
ASPD, antisocial personality disorder.
Okay.
Like yeah, that's getting into wildly unhealthy shit rapidly. Like, and that's not counting all the sexual content, which is a big chunk and a main theme of the novel. And it's terrible.
Yep, it's just done wrong. Like we've talked about this
It's
before
bad.
a bunch of times. Fucking bad. It's just, yeah, just
Bad, and you should feel bad.
it's bad, and you should feel bad. What else is bad? And they probably should feel bad, Eli.
So, I'm not a big fan of this one. So there's a book series, The Throne of Glass, and one of the initial relationships that's kind of thrown out is between the captain of the guard, Chowl, and the assassin lady in question, Kalina. And the more you think about it, these two hooking up is awkward at best. Because he's effectively one releasing her from she's assigned to his custody. He has, at least for a long time, has power over her while she hasn't been officially granted her freedom. They're most of what ends up coming is this bizarre animal attraction thing. They then withhold information and they have no productive dialogue at all. Like, they just withhold information from each other.
Sounds like a winner.
Yeah, they just withhold information from each other and then try to do this weird ending on good terms and trying to come to grips with each other as they split. It's like, what? It feels so unnecessarily shoehorned in. It's just got these bonkers dynamics that feel so off kiltered and just it's not good. Like it's just it's such a bizarre power dynamic. It's like he has legal authority over her, but she could just stab him in her sleep, I guess, or stab him.
It's a
You know what I mean?
it's a well balanced relationship. We've got two ways to just fuck each other over at our
yeah, and like
disposal.
it's still he's like still withholding stuff from her because he wants to protect.
The good old relationship
Yeah,
concept of
and like
withholding.
even though she just casually murders like a warehouse full of people to rescue him at one point, it's like what's happening? What's with you two? Like what do you
Can you
need
guys
for an
get
establishment of
therapy?
trust? Yeah, like what needs to happen for a basis of trust here? Like where's that one set in? For fuck's sake. Yeah, it's just nonsense. It's just gobbledygook nonsense and doesn't feel like it should have been necessary. And so it just came across as like this is awkward and it's not good for anybody here. Stop it. All right, who is our last on this hit
All
parade?
right, to round out the category and just make everybody mad, Jim and Pam from The Office is the worst relationship shown on television, and here's fucking why.
From the top rope.
So, Jim gets no cert on the relationship because she's in a relationship, sticks around leering and waiting from his moment from the corner. That's not a good friend, even though he pretends to be one.
It's very awkward.
Very awkward, very bad from just like a mental category
It's a
leering.
big faux pas.
Yeah. So there's that starting point. Delightful. Then, when he gets the opportunity, he takes advantage of it, gets in a relationship with her. Seems like it's going fine. They do have good chemistry as friends. The issues are, when in a relationship, flirts with another woman, does long distance, which is like, whatever, questionable. I believe at one point, buys a house for her. Like, with no discussion, just buys a house. Not for her, for them. But, like, buys a house and doesn't, like, discuss it at all. And it's treated as, like, oh, that's sweet. It's like, no, that's fucking not. That is something that you would talk about for a long time before doing. That is not an impulse decision. It never should be an impulse decision. Especially with the jobs they're working.
Yeah.
Constantly treats, especially one other employee in front of her aggressively poorly and drags her into those, like, bullying archetypes for years on end. Just like, yeah, that's enough. I barely even watched the show, and I've seen all that. Can't even imagine what else there would be if I'd watched more of it. But all of those are just like, yo! Also, again, problematic work environment. He is, like, higher up in the company, and she's a secretary.
Yeah.
There is a disparity there, and that is, like...
There is some issues regarding fate control.
Yeah. It's like, bruh.
Yeah. Also, as funny as Jim can be, guy's an ass.
He's a bully.
Yeah.
If you reverse... I'm trying to remember the name of the other guy. If Dwight Schrute and Jim Halpert's looks and elocution, the show is completely different. Not even their character types. If Jim is not elegant and ruggedly handsome, and Dwight Schrute doesn't have the ugliest hair part and glasses, and can just talk normally about his shit, it's not even the shit he's talking about, it's the way he talks about it.
Yeah.
If he talked about what he talked about in a relatively civilized manner, and did not look like a creepy cousin that you wouldn't want to be left alone with, it wouldn't be the same show. It would be violently different. And that's not changing anything they're saying. It's changing slightly how they're saying it and how they look. Which says everything about that show in the time period it came out of.
Yep, for sure.
Anyway, to step down from that soapbox, next up, we've got...
The good bad. The good
So
representation
good to
of
be
bad
bad.
relationships. Alright. I can start with a bit of an oddball here. There is a...
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Hell of a Boss is a very crass little YouTube cartoon that is made and has more emotional depth than it has any business having, I think.
Fact. Because it has no right having any.
No, it does not. And it's it's like old Adult Swim how in your face it is, which I respect.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it actually has a fair amount of emotional depth to it, which is bonkers. And the main part being the relationship between Blitz and Stolas, and it's they're in the relationship for all the wrong reasons. And that Stolas hates his wife, and he's actually gay. And Blitz just like he knew Blitz as a kid and basically wanted any excuse to be with anybody who wasn't his wife. Blitz is in it for material gain, and while he likes Stolas, he doesn't know how to be emotionally intimate because he's got his own issues. And so there's so much block between the two of them that it's starting, which is actually interesting because it's becoming a huge problem at this juncture in the show. It's like either the relationship has to fix or something has to change, which I appreciate.
But in this case, I think one of the things that like starts to separate from the last category to this category is that the author knows and is showcasing that there's a problem between the characters.
Yes,
not just sweeping under the rug, which is the
yes,
problem with all the other ones
absolutely.
we listed. Is
Like,
that every problem they have, either the writer doesn't notice because they're fucking daft, or they're just like whatever. It's and like is just a bad writer and sweeps it under
yes,
the rug and just moves on.
this is very clearly meant to be a dysfunctional relationship, and it illustrates why. It's very clear. Like you are in no way confused about the motivations of how they got here, why they're here, and what the fuck is going wrong. Like
Mhm.
it's very like at one point, and I think like what kind of sums it up really well is like Stolas kind of confronts Blitz about it, and his response is basically to run and to go get fucking hammered. And he just comes up and like he's being this dumb, trying to pretend he's happy, and then when
Mhm.
he's alone, he asks like his daughter, he's like, "I'm gonna die alone, aren't I?"
Yeesh.
Yeah, it's just like, huh. It's like it knows there's a problem.
Yeah.
All right, what else is dysfunctional in the
So-
best way? I guess.
And literally the most dysfunctional is Amy and Nick and Gone Girl. I remember it's like early mid. I think it's 2000s, maybe early 2010s. Gone Girl was made by our both beloved David Fincher, and it is busted. Movie's a banger. There's gonna be some slight spoilers in 3, 2. She's the villain. So in the movie, it's a dysfunctional relationship to start, for sure, because of why they got in the relationship, the lack of therapy they're seeking, and the problems they both have, and the fact that they're both kind of shitty.
Sure.
Especially her. Nick is bad, but in a very traditional way. And then
Okay.
she's like, all right, bitch, and gets fucking crazy. Literally, the movie is about she fakes her own death and then vanishes with all their money.
Ah,
Yeah.
ah.
Then, after killing someone, she comes back and I don't remember if she frames him for the murder of the other guy or if she makes it look like self-defense, but she basically then indefinitely threatens him to staying in a relationship with her for a power dynamic. And he's basically stuck forever, either being in a relationship that is, at the very least, hiddenly hostile,
Yeah.
to just full-on, just held at quasi gunpoint indefinitely. It's just like, it's so bad. But again, written in a way that it does not at any point try to hide that.
Yeah,
This one
right.
is the least subdued when it comes to being a good bad relationship. It's a relationship that involves a gun at someone's back the whole time. And yeah.
Yeesh.
Yeah, but movie's fantastic, acting's great. This is oh crud. Rosamund Pike. She's fucking phenomenal. If she ever seen her or anything, she's gonna do a great job. And then Ben Affleck. It's just dope as fuck. They really are just destroying. It's also one of the few movies that has a good performance by who's the guy that plays Medea? Bruh. Help. The second I look this up, I'm gonna. Tyler Perry.
Oh.
So Tyler
Jesus.
Perry's in the movie as like, I'm trying to think, is he like a detective or a lawyer or something like that? but it's kind of a bit part. But he's like, oh yeah, he actually can just act. Like the guy the guy has like chops and like
It's
is
like the
quite
Adam
good.
Sandler effect where you forget he can actually do it from time to time.
Yeah, I feel like that one's a little bit. Yeah, I think Tyler Perry and like the fact that he's always Medea is like a little bit more of a.
Sure.
But yeah, absolutely. Um, but yeah, it's fucking movie's phenomenal. Relationship is hot garbage, but is like basically showcases being always that, and it's interesting how you can see it through multiple lenses. Because initially, in the beginning of the movie, you side with her because Ben's kind of shitty, but it's
Hmm.
shitty in an understandable way. You're like, yeah, he's shitty, but like, fuck him, maybe get a divorce, maybe go to therapy. Like he's not like being heinously bad. My memory might be a little fuzzy on that, but it's nothing like, holy fuck. It in no way excuses her later actions to the point where you change like I feel like most people probably change teams by the end of the movie. Initially, I think you signed with her, and by the end, you're like, "Run, Ben, run!" You're just like,
Bitch is crazy.
"Dude,
Get
bitch
out.
is nuts."
Get out, my guy.
Speaking of other relationships people should get out of,
This one's sad. Um,
just the whole show, all the
the
way
whole
down.
show, the whole show, and this relationship in particular, it hurts. I have to put it in this group, but BoJack and Diane, it's not. And the sad thing is, it ping pongs from time to time, because initially, a lot of the show initially hinges on their relationship and BoJack trying to make it more romantic than it should be.
As she's writing a book about him.
Yeah, as she's writing a book about him and effectively sitting around him a lot because she's writing a book about his life. Um, and she finds him interesting, and like there is more to him than just some dumb fucking sitcom star from the '90s. Um, and there is, and it leads to a really, at times, unhealthy friendship. And instead of helping prop each other up, they they will go down with each other.
Yeah,
So
literally
when
and figuratively. But
yeah, but like when
all,
she's avoiding life, he just says fuck it and just gets hammered with her
yeah,
instead of helping put things back together. Like it's dysfunctional when it's bad, and at times it's okay. And major spoilers, but the end of the show and one of the biggest things that she realizes is she finally gets healthy and realizes she can't be around him. It's not sustainable for her,
yep,
and that is the note to fucking show it's on, which is such an ass kick.
yep.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, the first, like, I'm just realizing the first, like, two or three relationships Diane has are also crap. Her relationship with Peanut Butter is dysfunctional in a different way, but in a very big way, too. Like,
Yeah.
she just doesn't know how to talk to somebody who she has, like, very little in common with.
Yeah,
And, like, is.
he's just unbridled positivity, and so they have nothing in common.
Well, it's unbridled positivity and no follow through or. Like, he's not able to say, like, no to things or, like,
Yeah.
he just is very impulsive.
He's
She's
not
very calculated.
he's not considerate.
Yeah.
Like he's nice, but he's not considerate.
Yeah, which is a really cool distinction. But I mean, like that relationship also is a great showcasing, and they do a really that one. They also do a really good job with in a different way, where they show the relationship, and you're like, oh, you think it's good. You think she's initially a piece of shit for kind of being like, and also cheating on him. But then you realize, like, also it's like, yeah, but also he's doing a like he's not. He's asking tepid questions when he needs to dig deeper. He's not.
Yeah. He he does not know how to be in a relationship. He does
Yeah,
not have any kind of there's no depth to him in
yeah,
many ways.
exactly.
He's
It's
he's
all he
very
checks the surface level and goes, yeah, everything's
yeah.
fine, and doesn't ask any deep questions, ever listen or anything like that.
Yeah.
Hell of a show. Highly recommend if you want to cry while watching
Yeah,
cartoons.
bring some ice cream and some
Yeah,
Zoloft.
yeah. It's gonna be a wild ride. Speaking of things that were a wild ride and will always be a wild ride, we got Joker and Harley,
Oh boy.
especially from the OG Batman the Animated Series.
So this relationship basically everywhere.
Yep.
It's not good.
It's not good, but this is the one where it was showcased, I think, the best at being bad.
Sure.
Because there are versions where they show it where it's just in like the new Harley Quinn show. It's cool. It's got plenty of good things going for it. The relationship between Harley and the Joker in that one is hyper negative, which arguably is the whole entire time, but there's no nuance to it. It's so boilerplate. He's a piece of shit. Fuck him. He's a piece of shit. Basically, the whole
Sure.
entire like first of the half season where you give a crap about him and he's been a character.
Gotcha.
Sure, that's fine. And then you've got the movies where it's this like upside down like fucking star-crossed lover bullshit with like when it was done with Jared Leto, and it was like, one, this is painful
I
to
tried
watch
to forget about that.
Jared Leto, but also the way it's showcased is as if he cares. He does come back for her, but they're also both psycho, and so it's seen as this weird like beautiful thing to seem towards in a fucking
Yeah,
hot topic sort of way.
forgot about that.
But then if you go back to the awesome 90s cartoon that is Batman the Animated Series, where we've got the incomparable Mark Hamill, sorry, voicing the Joker, that really did, like, if you watch it over the series one, it really did an amazing job at showcasing a toxic relationship. And why she stays makes sense, because it has a lot of nuance to it, but it does showcase it by the end.
And
Because initially, it seems like two psycho villains, and then he treats her bad, and you're like, whoa, why is she doing it? And that, like, there's that kind of ping-ponging
yeah,
that is required for a really dysfunctional relationship to work, where there's negative and positive, and the negative outdoes the positive, but it's really close.
yeah,
And so it allows them to kind of stick around, and you understand why. It's not so bad that why the fuck don't they leave, but it's not so good that it's excusable. He beats her a lot. That's not okay. But he also, says he loves her and gives her, like, praise. But then he beats her, and then he gaslights her, and then he treats her poorly, and then he calls her names. And it takes a long time. And there's literally an episode where she's trying to get back into Joker's good graces, shouldn't be a thing in a relationship, and has to kill the Batman or bring him in to do so.
yeah.
And Batman's upside down and being like, you don't see it. She goes, what are you talking about? He's like, he doesn't care about you at all. This will not fix your relationship. This is like, he does, and kind of walks her through it. And they have this moment of where he's explaining to her how the relationship is, why it's not working, and why it will never work. And she doesn't want to hear it. And she kind of you see that she starts to get it by the end. She doesn't want to believe it very much. It's still in the stages of denial.
Mm-hmm.
But you see the anger of her starting to accept it.
Yeah. They do a good job too in the Arkham games that were made portraying the relationship. And the other wrinkle to add is like she originally starts out as his like therapist at Arkham,
Yep.
and she gets just sucked into the aggressive, charismatic magnetism that is Joker because he's just so
He's the best
so
at being the
firm
worst.
in his insanity.
Yeah. He's a
so,
master manipulator.
Yeah, and he's also he attracts people who are at all unstable.
Yeah. Because he is unstable, but he's making it work, and he's charismatic, and he's got intrigue.
He's somebody you want to be able to follow.
Mm-hmm. He's basically just a cult leader.
Yeah, there's no basically about it. He just is a cult leader.
No.
Anyway, next
Well-
up to the bad goods.
To the good side, quickly. All right, let's. While we're still in Bad Town, going to Good Town. What do we got up first?
So we have the complicated but genuine appreciation between Mustang and Hawkeye in Fullmetal Alchemist. There's some baggage here. There's a lot of baggage between them. Like, notably that he burned a tattoo off her back, and she resents the kind of alchemy he does, to he is her superior officer, to,
They both have PTSD.
the layers of PTSD between the two of them, because they both have seen and done heinous
so they
garbage.
both just killed borderline civilians.
Oh yeah, they've killed tons of people. Like, him more than her, but, you know, she still watched a lot of people just die at the end of a fight.
Yeah, yeah, she still sniped people.
She still killed a lot of people. Yeah. So they like, but there's a genuine appreciation and like, there
Oh,
is a genuine friendship and loving between them.
yeah.
Um, that is hard for them to really act upon or necessarily show because of a guise of military appropriateness. Um, and especially in most of what you get to see in the show's lens is because that's what they're bound to.
Mhm.
Because in many ways that is their life. Because he's trying to subtly hinge a revolution, and so there's not time for this. Even though it's there, even though all the elements are there, it's forced to take kind of a backseat. And at times it crops through that you know that the interpersonal needs attention too,
Mhm.
but it plays kind of a bit part in how they interact in many ways. But there's no it is undoubtedly there.
Yep. Well, while we're kind of on the TV show vibe, may I introduce you to the lovely Marshall and Lily from How I Met Your Mother. This show, especially in its early seasons, was adorable. Marshall and Lily were this perfect couple, and then shit started to hit the fan with the writing and just the character arcs, in both good and bad ways. They did a couple of things that make the duo problematic. One, Lily just fucking up and leaves because she doesn't know how to communicate that she has to do something. Like
Yeah.
it is necessary. She needs to go to art school, otherwise she's gonna die. Metaphorically.
Yeah.
Later on in the series, Marshall has to take this dream job. He cannot pass up potentially doing this thing, even though it is in direct opposition to what his wife wants. But
Yeah.
he can't communicate it because
Reasons.
bad writing, characters don't like. It's just like it's one of those things that this is like, what is an episode where I don't refer to Ted Lasso? This is why Ted Lasso is the best show, is because opposed to continuing to propagate, how do I have a conversation that's difficult? Let me just make bad life decisions. They went, it sucks, but you can still do it, and there's still plenty of human moments there. And so have bad conversation, have the people be to annoy each other and need a break, need a moment, have lasting resentment. These are all normal, relatively reasonable things, but you have so many of the shows in like late 90s, early 2000s that was just like, what if I didn't know how to communicate and then made rash life decisions? However,
Go.
at the end of things, they talk about this. They get angry, which is important. This is the difference between Jim Halpert and Pam and Marshall and Lily. Is he does this impulsive thing, she does this impulsive thing. They get pissed. They're like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? That is not okay. I am very angry at you. And there is a time where they're angry, and rightfully so. She should be angry that he effectively lied to her, went back on his word. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
And like that happens for a moment, and then it gets resolved. They talk about it. She forgives him. Yeah, you know, there is a resolution, but there is anger. There is discontentment with somebody doing something impulsive, reckless, foolish.
Yeah.
And so there is a lot good there while not being quite handled the best. I think it's the best showcase of relationship in the show, for the record. The rest of the relationships in that show suck ass. Holy fuck, that show's unwatchable. But that relationship is very well done, start to finish, showing of what I think doing a decent job, especially for a sitcom,
Classic shitcoms.
Of showcasing a relationship, because they really do love each other, and they are head over heels for each other at basically every single point in the show, sans like one tiny arc or something like that.
Gotcha.
But they still have problems, which I think is a really good, important thing to showcase, because so many sitcoms go, we love each other, it's perfect forever. It's like, that's bullshit. And so for a very boilerplate sitcom to take moments and be like, yeah, there's problems, and they get pissed at each other. It's like, it doesn't always need to be that big for the characters to be annoyed, but I respect that they did it all. So kudos for doing a pretty good job for a shit. What you got up next on the
Uh,
quasi shitty
classic between
category?
us. Gotta reference Berserk. Um, and notably the relationship between good old Guts and Casca,
Uh,
because that shit has some issues. Because it is it is undeniable that the two of them absolutely care about each other. However, the two of them need so much therapy; it is unreal.
yep.
Um, the amount of PTSD between the two of them, it's palpable. Um, and they've got some interesting things in common, like they've both been raped. Great start. Good start.
Nothing like some damage to to bring the bond closer together. Am I right, fellas?
That's a lot of damage. But it's there is an like they very clearly are concerned for each other's well-being. They very clearly care about each other. They even have like moments of actual communication and genuine empathy. The
Mhm.
problem is that they're so plagued by both literal and metaphorical demons that they still kind of take things out on each other. Like,
Just a lot.
yeah, and it gets even more complicated when Casca is kind of broken and goes mute
Yep.
and reverts to no longer being the same person. Like she basically becomes a, a giant toddler.
Mhm.
Like, and so it's hard for Guts to function with that. Like the person that he'd finally had a predominantly healthy romantic relationship ever, and
Yep.
then he just watches the person it was with get absolutely train wrecked,
Mhm.
and it's rough. Like, and he doesn't know, and he gets frustrated, and like at one point hits her because he can't communicate with her anymore. And she like he gets angry that she ran away because she was
Yep.
scared of him because he's an intense motherfucker.
Yeah. Well, and also because now he's plagued by like not only the PTSD of the circumstance, but also the PTSD of having, you know, the love of his life taken away from him.
Yeah, and it's like she is there, but not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's rough, and he cares, but it's a.
But also he cares from a like while I think this manga and show was progressive, it's also very smart and does it within its time. This is
Yeah,
medieval time period and he's been a soldier his whole entire life. He does not know how he does not have the tools to deal.
no, not in any way. I mean, he doesn't have, irrespective, I think, of him being a soldier, he has no guide or example for a healthy relationship.
Oh, also that, yeah.
Yeah, like he
Let's see, his
doesn't.
dad hoarded up, had him raped.
I'm gonna say his dad hoarded up and hoarded him out.
Yeah.
Literally, like
There's a lot of whoring.
yeah, like he has no guide for this. So God bless him, he's trying.
He's
He's
doing
trying.
he's doing quite good.
Like all things considered, he's doing pretty well. Yeah, like
This is a
but
passing grade
it ain't great.
for sure.
It's like it could be way worse, but it ain't great. But he's trying. God bless him.
And I think that's like one of the most important things here that we're looking at is that what makes some of these bad in quotes is their circumstance, but what makes them good is what the characters are trying to do.
Yes.
All of these have troubled circumstances, but the characters are most importantly trying, putting forth an effort, and doing arguably the best they can in most of these times.
Yes.
And with all that said, to move on to the last one, a little bit more lighthearted, we've got what's his name? Wade
Wait,
and
Wilson.
Veronica from Deadpool. This relationship is awesome in a million directions. One, they're kind of found catharsis in their, living circumstance. He's a mercenary, she's an assumed prostitute. I'm not even really sure what her job is supposed to like. I actually can't tell in the beginning of the movie if it's a bit that they're doing, like if they are kind of like role playing and they're already in a relationship, or if she's actually a whore at like like a kind of seedy bar? I
I
legitimately can't tell.
I think she's a horror to CD bar.
Okay. Either way, they're both coming from very interesting, shall we say,
Very
backgrounds.
very novel circumstances.
Yeah, very novel circumstances. And find like this kind of shared mindset love
Yeah,
that burns very bright.
there is a kinship between them.
There's a kinship between them. The reason this is in the bad good category is predominantly because of Wade's choices. Understandable
Yeah.
because broken because mercenary. Uh but when he gets cancer, he pieces out. He does it for her benefit, but
He
doesn't
doesn't want her to watch him die.
yeah. It's very noble. However,
Could
it's
have left
also
a note.
very one-sided. He does not give her a chance to like condone this or disapprove of this because at the end of the day, while it's his life, it's also their relationship, and so it's very noble, albeit selfish, to make that decision. Which one of the reasons it becomes the bad good category. The real reason it becomes the bad good category is the fact that after he survives all that, instead of going back to his love and protecting her, because he should be aware as someone who's been involved in a world of strife for so long that there's a good chance that they're going to come for her at some point.
Yeah.
He sits on the sidelines and frets about his appearances, which are hideous. And coming from looking like Ryan Reynolds to looking like
Testicle with teeth.
Ryan Reynolds' testicles, like, yeah, I get it. Like that's a huge L. But
oh God, I'm sorry. I just thought about the rant they have on. They're just digging about his appearance.
yeah, it looks like your face looks like an avocado that got fucked by an even uglier avocado.
Face is like a topographical map of Utah.
But to think that that is the end all be all and not again give her a chance
Yeah.
being that far, and granted a lot of it's personal, he's inside his own head, understandably so,
Yeah.
but it does, that is the sign of an unhealthy thought pattern and of like that it matters that she cares.
Yeah.
And so that, while a lovely relationship and very sweet, is the reason it matters. It's not all about looks. It's not all about you. And I think that's the thing, is he's a bit selfish and he gets stuck in his own head. To round out this lovely segment we've decided to bring to you today, we're going to end with the good. The greatest of the great. The loveliest of the lovelies. Eli, who you got to start off with this gorgeous genre?
Since I spent too much time on a plane reading, I'm going to talk.
Legasp.
Huh?
Legasp.
I know, crazy. And I did bring a 1,200-page book with me.
Did you?
I got a good way through.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, did you finish it?
No, I'm about 950 pages in there.
Shit.
Anyways, in the Stormlight Archive, there's two couples that are prominent couples that get a lot of face time. But I think probably my favorite is between Dalinar Kholin and Brightness Navani. And they have an awesome relationship, and it's not perfect by any stretch.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, it's like largely contested. Like she is hot to trot for Dalinar.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, like she doesn't even fucking hide it. She's just like, haha. And he to his credit, he's like, he's about it, but he doesn't want to, because that is his brother's widow.
Ah. Yeah,
There-
that's
complicating factor. I mean, granted, his brother has been dead 5 years. Like, it's not like it happened yesterday.
yeah.
And the more you learn, like, Dalinar has shaped up, where Gavilar, his brother, kind of became an asshole. And got, like, self-obsessed and absorbed with the idea of legacy, and kind of forgot about, like, the immediacy of family. Whereas Dalinar got a greater appreciation for people, and less an appreciation for the idea of legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And so Navani came to appreciate how he had matured, and Dalinar likes her, thinks she's super interesting, very, very eloquent, literate, She's hot, and but he's still like he doesn't want to be that guy. Until he finally just kind of says, "Fuck it," like,
Mm.
and tells the current rating king, he's like, "Yeah, I'm dating your mom. Deal." Um, yeah, she also beats the shit out of him to prove a point because there's been like suspicion he's trying to throw a coup. So he just walks up and beats the 9 pounds of shit out of his nephew, and he's like, "I can kill you when I want. Let's be clear." So I,
If I wanted to take over the kingdom, I'd do it
yeah.
now.
He's like,
Or
I'm the Blackthorn. I'm the greatest warlord in history. If I wanted the throne, I'd fucking take it.
yeah,
Clear?
good news. I don't.
He's like, he literally like they're wearing the super armor, and he just walks in and breaks the kings. He's like, whatever I want. I don't want. P.S. I'm dating your mom, and just like fucking saunters away, like just absolute Giga Chad. And so they end up becoming effectively this high king and queen, and there is genuine struggles. They have to figure out like a healthy dynamic, and there's times she has to confront him and have him back up. And like there is a time where Dalinar just ends up fucking in a bottle because he
Beg
gets
pardon?
like he ends up getting a bunch of memories back that would have been literally cut away from him.
Oh, okay.
And he just gets super depressed and goes drinking himself to death. And so Navani picks up the pieces, kind of knowing that like there's times you have to hold the slack for your for your partner.
Mhm.
And that doesn't mean like. And so when Dalinar comes back and like gets a fucking hold of himself, he notes it to her too. He's like, "Thank you."
Mm.
Like basically, I owe you. Thank you. Like it's very much founded in this idea of mutual respect and checks and balances. And like there's certain concessions that she makes because he's basically the king. And there's certain places like he just kind of walks on her unintentionally, and there's times she'll bring it up, and times where she just goes, "Not worth it." Like
Mm.
I'm happy to compromise.
Yeah.
And so it's a really good example of like that it's not perfect, but it's very good, and it's very much founded in kind of a mutual respect and affection for one another.
And that last thing, the second last thing you said is very important. Well, both the last two things you said are important. Affection is important, but the mutual respect, having, like, seeing the other person as having value and respecting them, and, like, as a whole entire person.
Yeah.
One of the best relationships I think I've seen with this is Parks and Recreation. Leslie and Ben, as annoying as they are, like they're the best characters I think I've seen written that are both ones to esteem to be and loath to hear.
Yeah.
It's really wild. They like Ben is so like as a nerd, Jesus Christ, bro, tone it down. But at the same time, loyalty, fucking like intelligence just is so impressive.
Mhm.
Like what he wants to do is good, and he digs deep and finds it. Same with Leslie, and it's why they come together is like their approach to politics is their kind of jumping off point, and then they just kind of fuck with each other. Even though like she is not a nerd, she does not understand like
Yeah.
his nerddom, thinks is a little weird, but loves her man, and hooks him up with some dope shit later on. Like
Dope.
she in one of the seasons for her birth, like because she is like one of her abilities is the best like gift giving. So she like when he's like when Game of Thrones was at its height and when all nerds, especially him, were fucking about it, she makes him an Iron Throne, and he just like loses his shit.
That's dope.
And when she wants to run for office, he gives up his job that he's about to support his wife because that's more important than his job. And so he works as her campaign manager. It's like it's self-sacrifice in the right way as opposed to being like
Yes.
I have to. It's like I want to, and that
It's like
distinction.
I chose this. It's inconvenient, but I chose this.
Yeah, they matter
Yeah.
more to me than this other thing does. And making
Yeah.
sacrifice and doing the difficult because the job he gives up is one that he likes. It's not his dream job. I think that would be a little bit a bridge too far. But it's a job that he's about. He likes it, but also he wants to see his wife succeed at this thing. She matters the most to him, and this is something he can do that he's good at as well.
Sure.
So that one is just such a fantastic showing of like sacrifice, and they have great arguments too, and the way that
Yeah.
it's such it's such a well done. And you'll see this, and I was gonna say this, but my co-host hasn't fucking watched the show yet. I was gonna talk about one of the other the creator of the show Parks and Rec, who I also believe did Brooklyn Nine-Nine. That's coming up. And one of my favorite shows of all
Spoilers.
time, The Good Place, all have banger showcases of a great, complex, and healthy relationship.
Yeah.
Speaking of Brooklyn Nine-Nine,
Say, speaking of fucking spoilers, you dick. Um,
that's next.
Jake and Amy from Brooklyn Nine-Nine are a great relationship to kind of watch unfold. And to be fair, there's a number of ones you can cite, but you get the most screen time with this one, I think. And you get to watch it go through a lot of goofy, awkward phases to actually develop into something very concrete and very mature and very tangible. Um, and and you get to see the dumb. It does a great job going through just stupid nonsense fights that you get into in relationships. Like how Jake doesn't want to buy a new bed.
Yeah.
And Amy's like, yeah, but your bed sucks, and I can't sleep at your apartment because I can't sleep because your bed sucks, so I don't want to stay over. Get a new bed.
Yeah.
And he like doesn't want to, and he has. It's one of they use like the captain gives him kind of a hard dart, and he's like, just if you want this, don't be the reason that there's no progress made. Like,
Yeah.
have the courage to take a step out. And they throw in little nuggets of wisdom, like, when they're on a cruise ship, and Jake wants to just fucking lay around and eat all you can eat shrimp and see what it does to their bodies, which, God bless him. But
As a shrimp lover, you're like,
this is
dream
bad.
goals.
This is bad. If you just like 10 pounds of shrimp cocktail, um, somebody ate too much food in Italy. This is bad. 14 course reception dinner. Good God, it was a lot of food.
Woo-wee!
It was,
14?
I think technically 12
Still, though.
is a lot. It was a lot of food, Isaac.
That is
Anyway,
astounding.
it was fat and sassy. Do not begin to describe. Yeah, but like told that she wants to do everything. She's got this massive fucking itinerary in a binder because of course she does. And someone prompts Jake like, "Hey, be open to her interests." And it's like that's a very real lesson I had to fucking figure out, and I think everyone has to figure out to a degree.
Yeah.
Like there's so many good bits of wisdom and bits of maturity that they both pick up, and they have really good legitimate disagreements. Like one of the first big disagreements that's actually about something real is whether or not they want kids.
Yeah.
And it's like that's such a genuine cause for conflict. And the rationale they give is so good for why he doesn't. Like it's just
He doesn't want to. It's like he doesn't want to be his dad, right?
yeah, exactly. He doesn't want to be his dad. And it's like that is such a genuine argument that what people will have is like, I don't want to fuck up a kid like I got fucked up.
Yep.
And the last thing the relationship comes to is him willing to leave and sacrifice his dream job because his kid needs the time and he doesn't want to be his dad.
Yep.
And he is mature enough to the point where he can opt in not to be his dad.
Yep.
Like it is so well done, and it's drip fed so well as to not feel forced, rushed, or unbelievable.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
definitely. It's something that takes the like whole entire time period of the show, like a good relationship, to fully mature.
Yeah, and
It takes like 3 or 4 seasons for them to get in a relationship,
So
accept it.
they start the relationship at the end of season 2.
Oh, is that? I forget how long the seasons are. That show had a surprisingly long amount of like episodes per season.
yeah. So, but it means like two to it's like effectively 3 to 8 they're in a relationship. So 5 seasons.
Yeah.
So
5 years to get before you get married. Yeah, it's about right.
I mean I think so they marry at the end of season 6, I think. Yeah. Yeah, they get married. They get
So,
married at the end of
all
season
right,
6.
so they're in a relationship for the better part. So 3, 4, 5, 6. So for 4 years they are dating and or engaged.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, more of that, please. Like that is a realistic amount of time. The amount of shows that cut corners, and some of it is runtime. I get it, but the amount of shows that like kind of cut corners and get to spots
Yeah.
like that, like way faster. It's really good
It's
to showcase
it's
a
it's
relationship that isn't like
it might be 5. But either way, it's season 5 or 6 and it starts at 3. So
yeah,
it's like at minimum
3 years.
three full seasons
Yeah,
basically. Like
and
it's
like I said earlier, those are long seasons.
yeah,
Those are like 20
like
plus
20
episode seasons.
I think they're like 23 episode seasons.
Yeah,
I think seasons 7 and 8 are shorter. I think it's
yeah.
13 and 8 respectively. But yeah,
Either way, thank you very much, Michael Schur, for these last two entries. Did a fucking phenomenal job.
amen.
And to round this off, we have the lovely Louis and Jessica from Fresh Off the Boat. This relationship is very great for a million reasons. One, it shows a relationship with kids and how that shit works. Because that shit be different than a relationship without kids. It's like a
Yes.
fucking, it's like a boat with an extra anchor. Uh, the show does such a great job of showing a family dynamic, especially with a family business. Louis is very optimistic. He is
Unapologetically so.
yeah, he's like, I came to America. Like is literally like sees the American experience through the idea of the American dream, and it's adorably stupid. And then his wife Jessica is a fucking battle axe in the best way possible. It's just like, you're an idiot. Like it just like she helps, bring like kind of balance out the sides that he doesn't see, and he also helps balance out like when his optimism gets them in trouble, she's there to shore up the defense.
When
When
she
her
can't see anything but cynicism.
she can't. However, when her cynicism gets in the way of their progress, his optimism kind of counteracts that so that they can move forward in a happy way that isn't like just trifling or bad.
Yeah.
It's
They
just
they do a really good job playing foil for one another in a
Mhm.
very good way.
Yeah.
Like, because there's like,
which it's one of those things that doesn't get shown enough is like this is the correct showcasing of like opposites kind of attract, because this isn't like there's a lot of times where people think, oh, opposites attract, like she's edgy and I'm straight laced, this will work. It's like, no, probably won't. You guys have nothing in common. They have plenty in common, they just see the world differently, and that kind of opposition allows them to fill in the other's weak spots. Like if he married somebody who was as optimistic as they would, they'd both be naked in the street penniless because they would have like gotten just like taken for all they were worth.
yeah,
He needs somebody who's cynical to balance out his reckless optimism.
yeah.
And she needs somebody that's optimistic so she's not just in a hole with a dagger,
yeah,
like
she's not just
fucking
jaded at everything.
yeah.
Like, from personal experience, like, you need somebody who can shore up, because there's just points where every human being sucks. Like, there's just things that we suck at. Like, just intrinsically, we suck at them. And so, like, you want somebody who can kind of help fucking shore up the defenses a bit.
Yeah.
Like, that's... And the show does a good job showcasing that. Like, it is very much one of those, if you know, you know, and there's a reason, even if you don't, that it doesn't feel hokey. Like, and I feel like that's one of those things that is written with a degree of kind of like love and history to it, that it
Mhm.
is hard to necessarily assign a value to, but like it feels right. If
Yeah.
that makes sense.
I mean, that isn't that the crux of relationships, is like the way shit, like in a way it is like this feeling that you can't put a finger on is so much of
Yeah.
relationships. It's a
Yeah.
way,
I
way to
mean, there's
come
a
full
lot of shit
circle.
about why you're in a relationship you can quantify, but it really boils down to just like
Vibes,
it
man.
just feels right with this person.
Yeah.
Like it eventually just boils down to I like him. I like you, and I want you.
And hopefully you'll want to come back to this likable podcast after this break. See you in a bit.
Awful. Have you wanted to take your kids to the movies, only for the movies to follow you home for weeks? Have you ever thought, I want to be incessantly humming the same 6 bars for days on end? Well, look no further than the animated children's movies. You'll surely be taken hostage by a 5-year-old as they repeatedly demand they have to see the new movie or they're gonna die. And then deal with them lamenting how they want all the merchandise that is suddenly everywhere. And not to mention the songs are going to follow you home too. With such studios as Disney and DreamWorks printing these things, you're bound to leave with an insidious and infectious earworm that you'll be humming. Oh, because your kids never stop singing that one darn song. You know which one it is. But hey, at least the creators know you're being forced and coerced by those ankle biters. And they throw in some jokes along the way that only you're going to understand. Welcome back, people that Isaac didn't drive away. Co-host of the Mongoloid. Oh, I'm still jet lagged. This is rough.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what you been writing there, bud? Been reading a lot.
I have not been writing a lot. Again, in large part, the last couple weeks have been very stressful and very travel heavy. I've just been on my feet a lot. Like, I did a lot of walking in Italy. Like, good God, did I do a lot of walking around in Italy. And so I have not. The last 2 weeks since we've recorded, I really haven't worked on anything. It was get wife's passport, get ready to go. And I just got back, so. Yeah.
Yay!
I ain't
He's
worked on
alive.
I ain't worked on shit.
I ain't worked on shit.
I ain't worked. We ain't worked on shit. Yeah. If you know, you know. What about you?
So I have, like I said earlier, I've been having trouble actually writing. However, I did have this idea a while back. You know that thing where occasionally it feels like you're in touch with the Matrix and you suddenly see things before they happen? Like you kind of like predict and then it comes exactly true and you're like, holy shit, do I have a superpower? And then 5 minutes later you're just dead wrong. You're like, I guess I don't.
I thought you were just gonna say see things, and I was gonna make some joke about drugs, but proceed.
Yeah, there's times where you kind of like,
Yeah,
this is gonna happen, and like,
you get this gut feel of like, I like, I need to move for something, or
mhm.
yeah. I'm doing a terrible job articulating it, but I get what you're talking about.
Yeah. So this mild story idea I have is, what if, as Stephen King is, as we like to quote Stephen King in saying that like all great stories start with what if. What if in this universe, start with your main character, guy that doesn't know he has a power. He has what I'm calling future tongue, wherein he can see the future, and this is like a power, but it's kind of rare, a la like parcel tongue in Harry Potter,
Yeah.
or some people just have the gift.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what kind of world other than that, but just this idea of people are seen as valuable and kind of looked at like with somewhat jealousy and somewhat kind of like wary eyes for their power. This thing that they necessarily didn't choose, and that's like almost hard to explain, that they just kind of like randomly do. and how that would change the way you do interactions, and how that would happen more. This would be a difficult thing to write, but very interesting. What would happen if two people with future tongue hung out? Would they constantly be like annoyed at each other? Would they be happy that they wouldn't have to have like weird conversations because they would just know? And like how would that typify? That's a, I don't know. It's a fun little writing toy to play with and see where it goes. But that's sadly all I've thought about it, as I've been kind of on mental vacation, too literally, as of recently. So hopefully next time there will be more.
Yay!
Yeah.
I do have absolutely banger recommendation.
Woohoo!
I had heard that the second Puss in Boots movie, The Last Wish, I had heard it was good.
Likewise.
It's not good. It's fucking
Oh.
great.
Hey.
Um, it has, it just, it doesn't miss. Like its animation is good. They have very stylized. They change. I think they go to animating on the twos for all action scenes.
Okay.
But like its voice acting is great. Both the people you expect to be phenomenal, like you've got Antonio Banderas, you have Selma Hayek, like they're great. But then the people you've never heard of are also fucking superb. Like it has a surprising amount of emotional depth to it that you wouldn't expect out of a fucking Puss in Boots film. Like it has some tremendously good narrative messaging, like, and it does a lot in very little time, and it doesn't feel super forced. Like
Nice.
the worst part of the movie is still really good. Like, like the worst part of the movie is there's kind of a side plot with Goldilocks and the Three Bears, and it's still good. Like, yeah, it's the humor is good, the action is good, the dialogue is good, the voice acting is great, the anime, like it's fucking great. It has no business being this fucking good. Like, and it has arguably it is one of the scariest representations of death I've ever seen in a movie, because it's so in your face. Like,
Because it's like personified, right?
yeah, he's this big wolf that walks around. Mild spoiler, but it's really obvious, I think.
It's like in the first scene, I think.
You don't know that that's actually him.
Okay.
You think it's a bounty hunter, but
Okay.
he is fucking intimidating.
Yeah.
The guy who voices him, I've never heard anything else. His name is Wagner Mora. Guy is
Hmm.
awesome. His voice is dope. Yeah, but like, he literally he nicks Puss and like just barely avoids beheading him.
Yeah.
As opposed to freaking out for the first time ever because he's out of lives. And like he drops the rapier, and so he kicks it to him, and he goes, "Go on, pick it up." Just like, Jesus fucking Christ! Like, it's so uncomfortable. It's so good. Anyways, like it's great. It's really short. It's not very long. Fucking go watch it. Find a place to watch it. It's great.
I will do so. My recommendation is, it's weird. So I just watched the recently released Nimona, which people have been like losing their shit about.
Okay.
It's a animated feature. It's out now on Netflix. It's kind of been in development hell for a while. It was supposed to be made by Disney. Like Disney bought the rights to it, or there was some deal with Disney. Then that fell through, and Disney was going to kind of like trash it. And the people that wanted to make it were like, "Well, we still want to make this," and so they went through I don't know what kind of hell, but some amount of hell to get it made. And so it finally found a home on Netflix, and people have been losing their shit.
Mm.
Brief review and summation. Animation style is very much its own thing, and love it. So A+ there. It is a kids movie, so writing wise, a little bit basic, not as obvious as I initially worried, but a lot of like the story writing conventions are a little bit kind of mid. In just there's moments where you're like, why is this character doing this? It's not unmotivated, but it's a little unintelligible. Again, kids movie. So
Yeah.
like it kind of leans into that a little bit, like kind of don't worry about it till Tuesday mentality.
Yeah.
And however, the objective it pushes forward, morality wise, social convention wise, and the kind of questions it asks, albeit I think it asks them a little bit, it asks and showcases its material, again, kids' movie, a little like, not ham fisted, but very much just like, there's not a lot of nuance.
hmm
So,
I think ham fisted would work.
it's not ham fisted as much as it doesn't have tact. It's like it's. Let me see if I can make a metaphor here. It's
On
not
the
somebody.
nose.
Yeah. It's not somebody walking up and going, "Hey, I like you," but it's not somebody walking up and going, "Oh, what's that book you're reading?" Or, "Hey, like oh, do you like that band?" And like starting to get to know you. It's somebody walking up and going, "Hey," and you're like, "All right, we both know what you just said. You didn't say it wrong, but you did say it." And so it's like that kind of level of delivery. It's a little
Okay.
bit aggressive, or a little bit like you're saying, on the nose. It isn't ham-fisted, but it has no nuance. So it could have been better, but it definitely wasn't bad.
Okay.
That being said, the message it puts forward, it does, I think, a very good job of pushing forth for especially for a kids movie, a very well showcased, well delivered LGBTQ message,
Cool.
um, of showing like acceptance. It's got great tunes. It's just, for a kids movie, I think it's a banger. If you go in looking for more, you're gonna be like a little like eh. But I think for a
Okay.
kids movie, for what it's doing, it is an A plus plus movie overall. A minus B plus probably
All right.
territory. Starts to lose points when you start to look at it as an adult,
Sure.
but it's fun. It's
Okay.
it's goofy. It definitely is
Big
like,
fan of Goofy.
it's a pretty good chill watch. So yeah, it don't get too excited by the hype, but definitely go check it out. It's a lot of fun.
Okay.
And fuck Disney for trying to hide this gem. I don't know why they would kill this. I think this is one of those things where execs are like playing boardroom too much and not playing art enough. So fuck them.
So one more instance of executives need to get out of their own way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the fucking tried and true strategy hasn't been working. I love Pixar, but their last things have been eating the fucking shitter. Like, they have not made their money back on it, like their last like 5 projects or something like that, which is like very fucking new for Pixar. I'm sorry for him, but also like a lot of their stuff has been played relatively safe. So it's like,
Mm.
it's kind of nice to see something that's like taking a bit more an aggressive, progressive stance, getting rewarded, as opposed to this like, let's play the middle bullshit. Like, this fucking art is meant to push the objective. It's meant to be edgy. It's meant to like be like, oh, holy shit. It's not meant to be like, ah, yes, the same thing with a different hat. It's like, it's not what art is. Not what good art is. Like, if you look historically at what has made money, at what has, you know, broken the mold, is what reinvented the, the franchise, it's stuff like, whichever way you want to take it, it's stuff like Everything Everywhere All at Once, that just like was like, what the fuck, and holy shit, and like pushing all these ideas. It's like, that's what changes things. That's what makes money. Not this like, I don't know about makes money. I'm not that good at the back end, but like, that's what people remember. It's
Sure.
not, people don't remember the 80th like fucking thing.
Your argument lost a little steam there.
Yeah, I couldn't come up with a title in my head. I was gonna come up with Sex and the City, but I haven't fucking watched it, so it felt a little rude.
I also think that made a ton of money. Anyway,
Yeah.
what was it? That I assure you made money by the fucking truckload. Like,
Yeah.
anyways, before we launch into the entirely different diatribe, that is our episodes. Thank
No,
you.
no, no. I have a thing. I have a song to recommend.
Oh shit!
Don't you dare.
All right, just
Don't you dare take away.
jet lag Eli jumping the gun.
Yes. How rude.
How rude.
So, quick before my co-pilot here ejects both of us too quickly. I would recommend, after this, listening to Hymn for a Droid by, and this is one of my favorite band names of all time, Psychedelic Porn Crumpets.
That's a name.
Yeah.
That is like a fucking random name generator on the internet name. What
Yeah.
the fuck?
Banger. Highly recommend.
Well, it is.
Hymn for a
You will not
Droid
mistake
by
it for anything else.
Yeah. Hymn for a Droid by Psychedelic Porn Crumpets. Go jam.
Okay. Take
You
two.
may continue.
That is our episode. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you liked it, please feel free to
Like it.
comment
Share it.
and subscribe.
But don't forget, new episodes of Super Pros Bros come out the first and third Saturday of every month.
Bye.
Bye.